But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoureth her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of God. Okay, I wanted to read more of the Bible, but you guys may have noticed I'm making a lot of vids of me wearing scarves, and that is the reason why. There was also like more ancient kind of guidelines given. I forgot what it's called. I'm so sorry. It has a weird name. I can't remember. For Christian women to cover their head when praying and in church and outside the home. And I'm trying to pray all day, every day, baby. So I got a scarf on pretty much all the time. When I'm out in public. Okay? This video is actually about the Bob Marley movie, which I finally fucking saw tonight, and it was so much fun, and I can't wait to tell you about it. It made me feel closer to God, I can tell you that much. They had like one scene in it where Bob got his Bible out and we saw a good look at a Bible. I was like, I can't wait to see my Bible when I get home. I got all 3 Bibles out, okay, because I wanted to find a good one to read to y'all. I have this one, I have this one, and I have this one. This is a big, look, this is big font. Big letters so you can see it. Because I'll tell you what, I felt God in that cinema watching Bob Marley One Love. Okay? Okay. I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie, in all seriousness. Let me tell you that the bar was very low for me. I didn't think this movie was going to be, I thought it was going to be okay. My thoughts were, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be all right. I'll watch it. I was so wrong. I was so wrong. This movie, it's a movie. This movie, Bob Marley, One Love, phenomenal. I was taken aback, honestly, because I didn't think it was going to be this good. I thought it was going to be okay at best because the Freddie Mercury movie was trash. I didn't even see the Elton John movie, but I know for a fact just from the trailer it was also trash. There's a new Amy Winehouse movie coming out. It's dramatized. I know for a fact that one's also trash just by the trailer. That's a whole different video. We'll talk about it another time. So I saw the trailer though for the Bob Marley movie like months ago, and I was like, okay, I'll watch that. And wow, I was blown away. Honestly, I forgot to look up everyone's names. I'm so sorry. I was so caught up in reading the Bible that I did not look up everyone's names, and I am sorry. But wow, bro, I'm gonna have to get my tablet because I can't have me not knowing these names of everyone in the movie. Sorry. So sorry. Good thing I got a phone and a tablet. Thanks be to God. Rastafari. I'll tell you what, and that's that. Uh, that is that I have an ex who, he's not Jamaican, but he's of Jamaican descent. And they were saying in this movie, really early on, they said, Rasclat! And I was like, oh man, that was unearthed in my brain as something that my ex used to say, because he really did used to say that. Yeah, and I forgot all about it. I'm not entirely clear on the context of when you say Rosclot. But my ex would always say it when something good happened. He'd be like, "Oh, Rosclot." Um, oh, hi, Check. You okay? Do you want to sit here? Come here. Come here. Come here. You want to go in here? Okay, I got on the blanket incorrectly. Do you guys ever do that? Christ, it really bothers me. Okay, Bink. Okay. So, this movie was so much fun, and I should have known that it was going to be so much fun because a lot of the producers were related to Bob Marley. Ziggy Marley was on set a lot, and he said so at the beginning of the movie, right before the movie started. Okay, thank God. So we have Kingsley Ben-Adir. That's the guy who played Bob Marley. Wow. I'm speechless, honestly. And then we had Ms. Lashana Lynch. Let me tell you this. I know someone who looks a lot like Kingsley Ben-Adir, and he's someone I who has a very special place in my heart and I love very much. So they look a lot alike, honestly. So I was like, how cool. And then Lashana Lynch actually also looks like someone. I wasn't super close with her, but she was a great friend of like one of my really close friends, and she was very cool. She was actually from Kenya, but she didn't. She looks a little bit like this gal I know, Lashana does, but it's kind of they like not so that not only do they look a little bit alike, but it's more like they kind of have similar vibes. So I was like, ah. Anyway, I can't tell you how refreshing it was to see people of African descent in a movie that was not woke. Because I would not classify this as like a woke movie. Because this was, a dramatization of real events about real people from a real country of Jamaica, right? This wasn't just like white folks being like, "Oh, let's throw in some black folks." Also, I like how white folks' interpretation of diversity is just like thrown in a black character. Pretty sure we call that tokenism, but I fucking digress. Anyway, let's get back to the movie. Let me tell you, it was a little bit difficult for me to understand the Jamaican accents, but I love that. I love that it was hard for me to understand the Jamaican accents, and I'm being serious about that because I like hearing things that I actually really have to listen to carefully. And I like hearing people who speak English in different dialects, and Jamaican is a totally different dialect of English than American English. Obviously, there are also tons of different dialects of American English too, but different video. Um, and there were also even little kids in this movie who I know they had to have been Jamaican for real, because you don't get kids doing Jamaican accents that good if they're not actually Jamaican. So that was so much fun. That was so much fun, and I that was really, 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 really refreshing. Um, I said this. I said, let me say this. That I said something I said in my Queen video, and that's that I was like it's so boring seeing Brian May write "We Will Rock You," and like honestly, that scene was fucking boring. It was not that cool, but it's so much fun watching everyone jam in this movie. Like, give me the guitars, baby. I want to see them. I want to see the organ. I want to see the drums. Like, show me. And they did. They had really clear shots. You could even see that some of the freaking guitars were Fender. Clear shots of people actually playing these instruments and actually singing, and it was just so much fun to watch, honestly. Um, I was a little bit just at the very beginning, obviously, because this is always confusing at the very beginning. At the very beginning, I was like, how are we gonna like what? I hadn't even like I haven't fucking read a synopsis, you guys, of this at all, because why would I need to? But I was like, how are we gonna make this into like a linear story? But it was not hard to follow, and I can't say enough how many times I can't say enough times how much fun it was to watch this movie. How much fun it was to see Kingsley Ben-Adir like playing Bob Marley and seeing Lashana Lynch play. I'm so sorry, I forgot her name. Seeing Lashana Lynch play Rita Marley, like it was awesome. I know they did, and they shot. There were a fair amount of scenes that they were more like establishing shots, but there were a fair amount of there was a fair amount of actual Jamaican like scenery, like landscapes, and that was so beautiful. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see badly. I want to see. I am not comfortable right now, but I'm going to make it through. That's what I want to see. I want to see these beautiful landscapes. I want to see these beautiful countries that I've never been to. I want to see, people running and hanging out on the beach. Like that's definitely what I want to see for sure. Um I'm sure it's rather complicated. I feel Stu saying this, but I'm going to say it on camera. I don't know that I fully comprehend the conflicts happening within Jamaica. And I used to watch a Bob Marley video like every day, an interview video with him. I think what's gone on is like, so it's a Commonwealth nation, right? So that means that it's technically like under power of the monarchy. It feels fucking weird to say that, but they're a very disadvantaged country. They don't have a lot of like work opportunities. They don't have a lot of education available. They don't have a lot of higher education available. They're very poor. So there's a lot of. He got hot. There's a lot of fighting going on, but I'm just saying I don't understand the entire thing. So that was still almost like a little bit confusing for me in the movie, but like didn't matter because that movie is dope. Um, I wrote down Bob's so hot because Kingsley Ben-Adir he's so hot, and like sweet thing, let me tell you, like I'm available. Anyway, um, I was kind of there was a fair amount of weed smoking and like uh something that I this is actually something I wish they had touched on. I forgot to look it up. Sorry, I was really hung up on looking up the head covering verses. Um, I wish they had touched on the fact that like Rastafarians smoke weed because it's their interpretation of the Bible. They interpret smoking weed as an action from God, a holy action within the Bible. So they're not just smoking weed because it's like fun to smoke weed. Like that's a sacred thing to them. Is what I'm saying. Um, I'm looking it up now though. I don't smoke weed anymore, you guys. Um, I did for a long time. I smoked weed for a long, long time, off and on. Um, okay, found it. He causeth the grass for the cattle, and herb for the services of man. Um, Proverbs 15:17. Better is a dinner of herb where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. Anyway, okay, but yeah, a lot of them, that's like a specific thing they do to pray. I was saying I don't smoke weed anymore because I don't. I was doing edibles, but I actually gave those up for Lent. It's Lent, you guys. It's Lent until Easter. But yeah, I was doing some edibles. Didn't want to continue doing them. But yeah, I no longer smoke. I'm sure I'll smoke again in my lifetime, but like Val Kilmer losing his voice, he smoked cigarettes. The thing with cigarette smoke versus weed smoke is there are a few differences there, let me tell you. So cigarette smoke is more toxic. Obviously, there's a ton of chemicals within any kind of mainstream cigarette that you're going to buy unless you roll your own. So there's like, and you likely physically smoke more cigarettes more frequently throughout the day, throughout life, than you would weed, though that's not true of anyone. That's not true of everyone. The thing about weed smoke is, though, is that when you inhale it, the smoke is actually hotter than that of cigarette smoke. I used to be a bud tender, and I would always ask people how they smoked weed. Because, like, when I was giving them flower, I would be like, how do you smoke this? Let me tell you that white women smoked pipes. More often than not, they smoked pipes and bongs. And black folk, men specifically, always smoked blunts. What else? And them white boys, they was doing shatter and wax and shit. The shit that I don't do. I never did that. I did it a couple times, but I don't do it anymore. I never wanted to do it habitually because when you smoke shatter and wax, like, you get so high from that it gets to the point where you need that highly concentrated amount in order to get high. Like, you can't get, it gets to the point where you get so used to smoking that amount to get high that if you smoke like a pipe, you won't even get high anymore. And I was like, fuck, dude, I'm not doing that shit. Though I did it probably less than 10 times, but like, you need a fucking rig and you need a goddamn blowtorch to light that shit. I'm sorry, we're not talking about this. We were talking about the Bob Marley movie. But then I ended up talking about weed because he did smoke weed. Loved the Jamaican dialect. Loved the Jamaican accents. I think I'm not as up on Bob Marley like footage and photographs that I'm sure they did kind of recreate for the movie. But like I'm saying, like, I didn't always recognize everything. I did recognize some. There's some very cool like reinterpretations, like kind of rehashings. What's the word? Reinventions, recreations of like certain photographs and certain footage of Bob Marley, which was so cool. What I would have actually really loved to have been in here. It was a little bit, but like, I really would have loved to see Kingsley Ben-Adir like go totally fucking ham, like being Bob on stage, because we saw a lot of him on stage and a lot of him like performing as Bob, but like singing as Bob, but like I just wish they had gone like a little harder with it, is my point. Okay. At one point, Bob was like directing a guy who was playing guitar, and he was like, "You got to play less psychedelic." He said the guy was playing too, like, he wasn't playing reggae enough. is what I'm getting at. Um, I will link the videos of Bob that I watched on the reg. And sorry, I got so sidetracked with the weed. I'm so sorry. But it's a part of the thing, the subject matter in this, that Bob smoked weed. Like, I don't know how else to tell you. But let me tell you, they didn't have dab rigs back then. I'll tell you that much. I cried during this movie. I cried a lot. I cried a lot, honestly. And I wasn't crying like tears of sadness, though there's a little bit of sadness in here. Um, I was crying tears of joy. God, I hate it when I cry, you guys. I'm like always crying in my vids. I'm so sorry. No, it's weird. Probably weird for some of you. Um, just because like seeing this recreation of him, like depiction of Bob Marley, seeing him go to so many different countries and tour and perform in different countries, and like, listen, to me, when I see massive amounts of people lining up for things, when I see lines out the door, lines around the block, when I see people really, really, truly gathering for things in huge numbers, the way they did to see Bob Marley, that is God. Period. That's God, okay? Um, like, I think I mentioned it in another recent video. Sorry, I can't remember. The panorama cinema picture of a bunch of people going to see Star Wars in 1977. This movie was also taking place partially in 1977, which was cool. But that many people and more went to go see Bob Marley. I'm just saying that specific picture, like that amount of people also went to go see Bob Marley. And what was really cool was I could tell that they really did include a ton of people in this movie who really were from Jamaica. Like the scene at the end, when that brought a tear to my eye. Just the scene at the end when like Bob's getting off the plane, he's back in Jamaica, and there's like a giant crowd of people. Like, I know those folks were Jamaican, and like for them to have their history depicted is very, very special. And again, like I said, like big crowds like that. Just not even that big, because I don't fucking know how many people were in those like that scene, the scene that I'm mentioning when Bob gets off the plane. 100 people, 200 people, not that many, but like it's just really special. And I don't think people realize how special it is. Okay? I think it's interesting that Bob decided not to get treatment really for his cancer. I think it's interesting that he basically kind of just decided to die, honestly. Um, he was only 36, but like the thing about that is, and I really have like observed this more often in people who accomplish really humongous things, is like when you accomplish something like Bob Marley did, okay? When you accomplish that many people listening to your music, that many people coming to see you play, that many people buying your records, like you kind of feel a sense of accomplishment. You feel like you don't Like you feel like you already have shared what you need to share with the world, and you feel like you don't really need to continue, you know? Um, think about like Steve Jobs. Like he died pretty young too, but like he fucking created the iPhone. Who else? Heath, R.I.P. He went way too ham into that role. And then my man's died, R.I.P. I had other things in my mind. Oh, Henson, Jim Henson. Like he was ill. I don't think he knew how sick he was. But like he had already done so much. He had already accomplished so much that like I think you get to the point where you're like, I don't really need to live that much. I don't even need to live that much longer at all, you know? Um yeah, I know that Bob's relatives helped to create this movie, which also helped to make it good. Let me tell you this. Before I get to the guitar thing that I want to say, also about him having died. This was an actually good movie, which is pretty hard to do when you're doing, uh, you know, an interpretation of someone's life, a dramatization of someone's life. It's hard, it's difficult to also make it an actually good film. This was an actually good film. I'm gonna watch it again. I'm gonna have to watch it again with captions on because I didn't understand 100% of what everyone said all of the time, but I understood almost all of it, and like it was actually a good movie that I would want to watch again. And I really cannot say that about any other movie I've seen recently. Like zero of the other movies that I've seen recently, except me. I guess I would watch Godzilla -1 again, but like I'm trying to think in the last year what movie I would watch again that I've already seen. I guess Megan, but that came out. I can't. I feel like that came out in 2023, 2022. Doesn't matter. I'm saying like this is one of few movies that I would actually watch again. You know, so that's an accomplishment. Anyway, we did get some cool footage of Bob actually at the end. And let me tell you something else that happened. I've never seen this happen, okay, ever before in my life. At the end, we got a Bob song for the credits, obviously. We had some folks doing some dance moves, okay? Some folks in the audience doing some dance moves. It was a little bit cheapened for me because they were obviously doing it for the gram or the social media because they had their phone light on to make sure they were getting filmed properly. But I'm still glad they were moved to dance. I sang along, obviously. I know the words. Okay, I know the words. One thing that I wish they had mentioned at the very end, because when I read this the first time, it really did bring a tear to my eye, was Bob Marley was buried with his guitar. When I die, this guy, he's gonna be buried with me. Okay? He says hi, his name is Lammy. Anyway, I hope you go see this movie. Let me say one more thing before I finish this vid, and that's that like this movie like really made me want to do the things I want to do in life. Like it really made me want to like live and love harder, and it really was inspiring to me, and it's pretty hard to do. So you should also go see this movie. Bye.